What are the biggest signs that tell that an agent needs to switch up their strategy?
If your business is going good and you're growing every year, you're probably making the right decisions. For those that are falling behind,
Trying to be fluid in these situations and make everyone happy. I know it's very, very hard to do.
It's really important to be doing the same thing constantly and just adding subtle tweaks.
Welcome back to the Clout Podcast. Today we are talking about something every real estate agent faces at some point: when to pivot. Whether it's shifting your marketing strategy, focusing on a new type of client, or even stepping away from certain deals. Knowing when to change course is key to long-term success. And this couldn't be more relevant now because all three of you were out in the field Monday dealing with real challenges, which forced you to adjust on the fly. So, hi, boys.
Hello.
How's it going?
what's going on?
Logan, Nate, Blake, before we get into today's topic, what was this experience like for you? Logan, you are never out in the field, and I was trying to get a hold of all three of you on Monday, couldn't get a hold of anyone. What was that like? What happened?
Yeah, so business definitely picks up pretty quickly in the beginning of the year. We're here in February, and we were just stacked up. A lot of photographers had to shoot. We had some issues where we had to kind of adjust on the fly. One of our photographers had to cancel last minute. So, our clients get really upset when we don't show up. So we don't let that happen. We find a way to show up. So luckily we were able to make some adjustments and get out there. But overall, I mean, some people call it chaotic. Other people call it busy and getting things done. And, sometimes those days happen. Sometimes it's stressful, but, you just got to get it done and deliver.
And Nate, you went and shot with one of our social media clients too. Like, he just had a listing, and then you guys got to create like a fun reel together. What was that like?
It was cool. It was nice to be back and get creative. And I think that being able to take a break from all of the working on the business type things, it was really nice to kind of get back in there. And it felt just like second nature. Didn't feel like I missed any beats at all. So it was really cool. The Super Bowl just happened this past weekend. And one of the main performer was Kendrick Lamar. And our client wanted to do a trendy video using one of his sounds. So it was something that he hasn't done before. And we were able to make it happen probably in about like 30 minutes, alongside creating all the other content, taking the photos for his listing. So in short, it was pretty fun.
No, I love that. Blake, what was your Monday like? Because we even talked yesterday and you're like, I'm still recovering.
Yeah, it was pretty chaotic. Logan kind of hit the nail on the coffin in terms of chaotic, busy, whatever you want to call it, but trying to be fluid in these situations and make everyone happy. I know it's very, very hard to do, but in this case, we were kind of stretched thin, and we try to just capitalize on what was in our control and what wasn't. So outside of all of the shenanigans, it was a really productive day for everyone, and I think props to everyone. We did a great job, and it was a little busy for sure.
And I think it's just ironic too, because the whole time I've been working here, you're like, yeah, this is our slow time. This is our slow time. I'm like, you guys are busier than ever. Like, what's going on?
There are a couple trends too. I realized over the course of the last year and a half, if a couple people start booking on Mondays, and next thing you know, there's 5 to 7 shoots on Monday, and then you're realizing, whoa, okay, here we go. Everyone put your seatbelt on.
Yeah. And what's funny is, as a solo photographer, usually you could keep a lot of these moving pieces in your head. The rain's coming here, so I got to adjust. I'll just push back a day, call a client. But when you're working with, 10 photographers and you're doing 10, 20 shoots in a day, you're like, holy cow, we need someone that's just handling, these shifts and adjustments. And that's primarily what Blake focuses on, and making sure that all of our content creators are in the right place at the right time, fully informed on what type of services they're going to provide. And when something like rain comes in, or a flat tire, or whatever it is, we make the adjustments. But it's kind of like being in a hot tub and then jumping into the cold water, so to speak, because we were in our slow season and now it's starting to pick up. But once this machine is rolling in the summer and the spring market and all those days, I mean, this is just another day, and we have the right systems in place to just knock them all out of the park.
I love it. I think you guys did a great job. So just snaps for the chat, snaps in the chat. Logan, you have been in this game for a while. What are the biggest signs that tell that an agent needs to switch up their strategy?
if your business is going good and you're growing every year, you're probably making the right decisions. For those that are falling behind or want to improve the growth of their business and the quality of their business and leads and the people they work with, you just gotta really figure out what is working for you and keep that, and all the other stuff, all the other noise, get rid of it or upgrade it. There's a lot of different tools, a lot of different things that are always hitting the market. Every year we have a lot of new products that we have access to. So it's really just making sure that you can streamline your business and have a really good service that's competitive or better than the competition. So, you see this with a lot of old agents that have been doing the same thing for a very long time and have success. And I would say their business is probably credited to the relationships that they've built over the years. And I would say in real estate, that's the most important thing, is just nurturing that those relationships and being the one that they trust and being the one that is educated enough to take care of the deal. But then you see, like nowadays, I mean, there's new tools, new CRMs, new AIs that can really help people speed up their process, speed up the things that they're doing, and do it at a higher level. So I think definitely you have to keep an eye on different tech advancements that are happening and definitely use technology. And when it comes to your strategy, it's, just really holding on to the things that work, and the things that don't work, get rid of it. And the things that can be improved, find the best solution and just roll with it. And, things take time. So, those agents that jump around so much and try every other thing, a lot of those agents don't do too well because they're always trying to jump to something new. So you really have to get down to fundamentals and have just a few things that work very well.
No, I totally agree. Then, Blake, you're in the field every day. So what do you notice that tells you that maybe it might be time for an agent to switch things up?
Yeah, I think that's a good question because there's a few things that I see daily. I think the biggest thing would be if the house is priced incorrectly, or maybe it's the wrong market. I think that a lot of people, there's actually a house up the road from me that's been listed for, seems like 40 days now. And I think the average time over here in Boise is about like 35 days on the market. And I think the price is wrong for the house for what it is. But I think that could also play into the market they're trying to reach into. I mean, it could be a new territory that they're not familiar with, or maybe the market research that they're doing isn't aligning correctly with the home. I think that kind of piggybacks into the next point in terms of outreach. Maybe they are targeting a certain type of buyer, but maybe that buyer is looking for a lower alternative home in terms of price, as opposed to the one that's right next to me that is, in my opinion, I think it's slightly overpriced, which is probably why it's sitting. But I think those are two of the telltale signs of, when you need to switch gears into figuring out something else.
That makes sense actually too. Like if you're not selling maybe as fast, I don't know. That seems like it would make sense. Nate, you're big on data. So what numbers or trends should agents pay attention to when deciding to shift their approach?
You have to look, I think, probably at the market. And one of the leading indicators is going to be interest rates. That's really going to determine the different prices of the homes on the market. And I feel like you also have to examine what it is that you're currently doing. A lot of people can't even do that. A lot of people are doing things on a whim and changing things that they're not even keeping record of. And a lot of that comes down to not having systems in place or having a repeatable business that you can really rely on to operate. And I think that when things are slow and you're not getting the listings that you're typically getting, the number of listings you're typically getting, you could see that there's obviously a problem there. But it doesn't really necessarily attribute to your strategies or your business systems. It could just be the market. So that's why it's so important to really analyze what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis and have repeatable systems, have marketing strategies, have a content schedule that's constantly going out so you can examine those types of numbers and making sure that you're seeing a return on all of the efforts that you're making. But I think that aside from just the systems and being able to look at the interest rates, it's really going to come down to just like what it is that you're trying to achieve. And if it's just something simple as social media and you're wanting to grow on there, you could really start to dial in like how many posts you're doing, how many views you're getting, how many shares you're getting. And you can see like, maybe from, January to February, you're getting on average 10 new followers and you're posting every day and you're doing that up until March. And then you stop and you start to see a decrease. It's going to be plain as day, but you need to have those systems in place. You need to have some repeatable thing that you're doing so you can analyze it. Those are the types of things that I would be looking at.
No, I love that.
You make a good point, Nate. And I think that it's not about pivoting the entire direction of your business and how you do things. Everyone should have a pretty good process for doing their business, but you can measure each part of that process and see what needs to be improved. So just looking at your social strategy, right? Or just looking at your website, just looking at your newsletter, just these very, very simple things. And I think that, you could measure them, right? So at the end of the year, you should say, okay, I've got, let's say 10 deals this year. Where did those deals come from, right? And then you look in the year prior to that and you're thinking, okay, well, I had, five leads come in from Instagram, right? But this year you had 0. So why did you have 5 last year, not this year, right? And really being able to track where the results are coming from, or, where the results are coming from other people that are finding success in what they're doing. So I would never recommend adjusting your strategy completely, but looking into little details and thinking of what things you should change and how that could help improve your business.
Yeah, it's almost like a steady flow, right? And if you imagine the piping system underneath the city, there's tons of different outlets and it all works. It's constantly working all of the time. And if you want to add a new pipe to that system, you're going to have to redirect something. You're going to have to do something a little bit different. And that pipe could end up working or it could fail. And if you're able to turn on the water and see it working, then you can obviously see that whatever strategy you implemented, whatever new solution you provided is working. And if it doesn't work, you have your answer. So I think that, it's really important to be doing the same thing constantly and just adding subtle tweaks. Like for us, it's like we do listing media. We've done that for a long time. Throughout the years, we've added little products to our listing stuff, and it's like we're creating, but we're building on top of the thing that works already. So we're not trying to just totally shift and change our whole business model and plan. It's really as simple as like tweaking just little things, and that's how you get real testing done. It's way too hard, and there's so many variables when you just completely change the strategy and completely pivot from whatever's working already. And on the flip side too, real quick, is that things could be not working, and if you just completely change things and something works, you have no idea what worked. So like even when things aren't working, you could just start adding just progressively to whatever model that you currently are running. So you could see like, oh, this works. Let me put 100% of my energy in doing door knocking every day versus trying to DM people on LinkedIn.
Really, that makes a lot of sense what you guys are saying, because like I mostly do social media work, and so sometimes I'll have clients that are like, I hate everything I'm doing, and I'm like, well, let's go back and see like what did best and like recreate that and then try that, and then kind of like what you did with Alex. We got the traditional style of his house tour that he's always been doing, but we talked about it on last podcast, or you and Logan did, and I just heard it when I was editing it, but about how doing the shorter forms too. So I was like, hey, let's get the traditional one. Then let's get like 3 other versions of the same house, which sounds crazy because it's a really nice house. It might sell before we even put all 4 of them out, but let's just get different versions and see what works best. And if it happens to be the traditional style that you always do, we'll do that one. But I have a feeling, spicing it up a bit might, add something else.
Yeah. And that was just a subtle change. And he told me, he said, I don't usually do this. And he does his typical intros and stuff, but he could now see with just adding this one variable, if something works and he gets more shares, he gets people messaging him, there's something that he's got there. So it's definitely time to double down.
I'm a stalker. I went to look. It already got like 20 shares. Trust me. Like I went to go. I was creeping. I was like, how many times? Because sometimes I think people do get caught in the views and all that. But I am I love when I see a share because that it gets the people going. It gets the people talking. It's like, what were you guys saying in your inbox? Like, it's like you were talking about us. So I kind of like what you said, Logan, about the first steps of what's looking. Don't change everything at once. Is there any other first little steps that you would suggest to an agent that's thinking about, oh, what I'm doing now isn't working, or maybe they want to like elevate it to another level?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity in just, being up to date with, what's going on and being able to see other opportunities. I think every business's intention is to grow. And in order to grow, you have to figure out the things that work to help you get those goals. And sometimes businesses hit a brick wall with their goals, and they kind of they stay at the same level as far as income revenue goes because they're doing the same thing, and they try and push harder within those same like lead gen tactics and different things. So when they want to take it to the next level, it's important to have an open eye to what's out there and to talk to others and to see what else is out there. I mean, it's just really keeping an open mind, and seeing different opportunities. And there's just, the market shifts so quickly, and there's just a lot of different opportunities out there. And I think that sometimes they don't work and sometimes they do, but that's the risk that business owners take, is by taking risks. And some of them pay off barely, some of them break even, and some are tenfold. So it's finding the right people to work with, the right systems to work with. And I think when you do decide to implement something new, look at case studies, look at track records, right? So if you're looking, like let's say you have the same photographer or same videographer that you've been using for 10 years and the person's great, you really like them, but now all of a sudden your competition has just incredible listing videos, social media stuff, all kinds of really cool stuff that makes that home stand out. Now you're thinking like, okay, hey, photographer, can you do something like this? No, I can't do this. Well, that brings them the next thing is, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to find somebody who can do this. And when you find someone that does that, look at their track record, look at their portfolio, and see if it's something they've done before. It's so much easier to scale your business and to grow with companies that are already doing the thing that you want. So it's really important that you have trust in the people you're working with, and they know what they're doing.
No, that's so real. That's so real. And I think also, I don't know if I know the industry that I work in, like they're a bit competitive. I don't know if that's how real estate agents, but I always believe in collaboration. So like talking to the other agents, like you said, and seeing what works, or even like taking inspiration, like that reel. I keep going back to Monday, but like that reel we did for Alex, like he was nervous to do that, but we saw an example and we recreated it with our own touch.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's always things that you could be doing, and ways that you need to adapt in subtle ways to change your strategy, or at least just keep up with whatever's trending. I think with social media, things are changing so fast on a week to week basis. So it didn't used to be like that. So that's what makes us want to create different packages and products for our clients, is because if we don't, they fail, and then we fail. So there's somebody else that will do it.
And it definitely is changing. I had like a 45-minute conversation with my other social media friend last night, and we're like, girl, what's going on? And I'm like, girl, I don't know. Because they're all changing and they're all competing with each other, and it's just, you got to keep up. So Blake, let's say you're in the field and a listing just isn't getting the traction, like kind of something similar to the one that you said is down the street from your house. What is a quick pivot that maybe that agent could make in the moment? Or, like you said, it's been on the market for 40 days. Like, what would you say to someone that might be in that same situation right now?
Yeah, I think in this case, the house down the road, I think they just have listing photos. So if I was to reach out, I would suggest maybe doing a video, some type of home tour, but I would also like to have the agent who is listing it there to do something kind of creative, like we did for Alex a few days ago. I think that would be, I've done a lot of cold outreach on certain listings that are higher end that maybe aren't getting the traction that they need, and I've reached out and I've had success with offering video services for that listing. And I think once they see what we can do and once we collaborate, prior to the appointment, they kind of really understand like how we operate, what the finished product is going to be like, and 9 times out of 10 they really really enjoy it, with some minor tweaks of course. But
Yesterday too, you did something that like you don't typically do, because we have another client that's not a real estate agent, she's an interior designer, and she's always used us for her her listing jobs, like I guess like when her job is complete, she has us come take photos, but we do her social now. And I think sometimes too, real estate agents, they think, oh, a photo will sell, this house is beautiful, how could it not? But people want to see her, like, because I told, like, I was like, photos that have her first and then showing off the work do so much better, because people want to make that connection. And you did a great job. I was checking out briefly before we got on this call the content, and you did a great job. I know that's not what you normally do, like people, you mostly do like the staging stuff, but it did great.
Nice.
yeah, no, she's great. She really is trying to push the boundaries with what she can do, and her work speaks for herself. But I think having her face in front of her work really puts the whole package together. I mean, if yesterday was a testament to that, she was telling me, I don't know what to do. I don't know. And I just started filming like her in her more, and I started filming her in her most organic stage, and all of that content I guarantee will repurpose way, way better than, hey, action, do this, do that, where, a lot of the times it is like that, but, sometimes catching the very raw, organic footage is going to capture the audience attention more.
Especially her. She has a freaking crazy personality. I'm like, girl, you have not showed any of this online. But we get on a call and I'm cracking up the whole time. So I'm like, we got to translate some of this.
Absolutely. She's great.
What Blake was talking about as far as a listing that's sitting on the market not selling, because this happens a lot of times, and sometimes it's being overpriced, sometimes the inventory is high. That's not really likely now, but a lot of agents will call us with this situation, and they'll ask us, hey, what would you recommend? And we could always add a video, we could always add other services, but something you can do as an agent that's really simple and free with the content you already have is reshuffle your photo gallery of the home, especially the hero image. So most buyers, when they're looking at homes, they will skip homes that they have already sort of digested. So if they see that front picture of the home and they already kind of blocked it off, they're going to scroll right past it. That's how most of these buyers are shopping nowadays. So what you could do is you could change the hero image to a different angle of the front of the house that kind of just makes someone look twice. So that's something you could do for free. Another option is order like a twilight shoot or a reshoot and try and get a different look to the home. So that way when someone looks past it, it's something new to them and they have to redigest it. And this is a good opportunity to do a price reduction at this point. So that way they see the price and they're interested again. So it's a quick tip.
I like that. I like the concept of trying to show the house in a different way, just by doing some subtle tweaks. And that falls right in line with A and B split testing. So, I mean, you could see maybe on one site or your website, whatever it is, you could have one image, on another you could have a different image, and then adding something like as simple as twilight photos could just help somebody really experience the home or see the home in a kind of a pun here, but in a different light. And it could potentially get somebody to just want to go see it just from something like that, because they're able to experience it in a totally different way.
I also love the term I just learned, hero image. That I like that. Changing the hero image. Is that the first image that shows up like on a
That or like websites or like email campaigns, like the first hero image banner.
It's just that first impression, the main photo of the home. And most consumers are seeing a photo before a video. So obviously photography is the most important thing when selling a home, because that's how people are currently, viewing homes online. Maybe we'll see something in the future with a video first or something like that, but we're just not there yet.
No, I love that. So Nate, you are always looking ahead. How can an agent make sure they're pivoting proactively instead of reacting whenever things go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you, in regards to looking ahead, if you have an entire marketing plan that you're going into the new year with, or you have these plans and goals that you're looking to accomplish, not on a day-to-day basis, but on a month-to-month or quarterly basis, then you could really start to look ahead to the different things that you have coming down the pipeline. And I feel like it's very easy to just to react, to be reactionary. And it's kind of similar to the stock market when you put some money in there or you invest some money in there and you're looking to be a day trader and change your whole financial life of wealth, and the stock just plummets and you get super scared and you end up selling and losing like half of whatever it is that you put in there. It's very easy to get caught in that trap because things happen. But when you zoom out, you can see that it's just a small dip and it's going to continue to grow and continue to increase and perform well. So I think that if you have a system that works and you're looking to add certain things, give it at least like 3 months to really test, so that you could go back and reference a couple months of data. Or else you're just going to be moving so fast and trying so many different things that you're really just burning yourself out. So if I was looking ahead, that's what I would do.
And so I think we've touched on Monday. We've talked about times where we had to pivot. Literally Monday was the example. But are there any other examples? Maybe we can go around, like Logan, Nate, Blake. Are there any examples you can think of maybe in your personal life or your business entrepreneurial journey where you've had to pivot?
Yes. I remember when we first brought on Blake, and it was and we were living in San Francisco, and the market just took this weird turn, and it was just something we hadn't experienced before. And we have never done this, but we ended up going into the conference room. I think we've probably talked about it here on the podcast, but we ended up going into the conference room like suited and booted, nice shoes, nice shirts. And really just for the confidence of getting on the phone to try and talk to somebody to buy something. And that I remember just being a very pivotal moment, just because we wanted to try and do everything that we could, things that we hadn't tried before. And then we eventually started our first product kind of variation from what we did at the time only was listing media. And we created this concept called Brand Builder. And this was really during the time that TikTok was blowing up. So vertical video was this completely new thing. And we ended up creating a product that people could purchase a ring light from us. Then we would have all the scripts and they would sit down and press record. But it was way ahead of its time. Something like that would probably be a little bit better. And it's kind of what we do to an extent with one of our social media offerings, but it's a little bit more involved now, and we've learned some of the things that we needed to change about it. But I remember just that was a very pivotal moment, was doing those cold calls and then creating a new product to try and help us out during that season.
I love that.
I remember those days very well.
I love that you guys gave ring lights. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, you got a ring light, you got a green screen, you got a mic, and we sent it right to them. And we ended up developing scripts and stuff like that. But what we didn't really factor in was that there was such a big learning curve to creating content. And it was actually something that we felt that people would be comfortable doing, but it was way ahead of its time. We're content creators, so we're comfortable doing it. And we just totally kind of missed that. But it was all right. I mean, we ended up sticking with some variation of it, and it's been working, and people really enjoy the product. And you do a great job, Montana, making sure that everyone gets their content. So, I mean, things happen, but I think it's, it all worked out.
And I think some of those content creator tools, I didn't mean to take a time to get warmed up into it. Like, I remember when we were first broke, the first couple of months, she would just do regular stuff, and then I would send one idea and she would do it. But now she was asking well, how do you stick your phone? And so I sent her the link to the sticky thing and then the tripod. I'm like, I think you do have to ease yourself into it, because it is, if you just start oh, let me get a green screen. I think I've never used a green screen, so it's it does take a bit.
Yeah, and I remember Brand Builder very well, and the reason why we sent them the ring light and the wireless mic and the green screen was to help elevate their production level early on, because they were always comparing their videos to, videos that we would shoot for them or other people's videos online. And they were like, well, mine aren't that good if I'm recording them myself. So we wanted to elevate it in that aspect. But, the next thing is your first video is going to suck. It's reality. It's going to suck. Your 100th video is going to be way better than the first one. And it just takes time. And, we were selling to people that were trying to learn how to do it, weren't really, fully in. They knew it was important, but I think that was the hardest thing. So
Yeah, you make a good point, and I think from a understanding for context of that entire era of short form video popping up was that during that time we still weren't in the organic type content stage that we are in now. And when this first happened, these were still like very high level production videos coming out. And even now, you start to see it kind of go back up a little bit, but it looks a little bit more organic-y. But it's, like if you understand editing and production, that it's still a little bit higher tier. But yeah, I mean, we were trying to give people the confidence that they had all the right tools to be able to create high quality content, when in reality, they already had it and it was their phone, and they just needed to get really in front of it and start talking about the different things that make them different. And believe it or not, people still don't do it.
Because here's the thing, I just hit and this is going back to like what Logan said too. I just hit my 500 posts. Sometimes they still suck, but I'm having fun doing it. Like, that's the thing. Like, no matter how long you've been doing it, sometimes they suck. And that's just part of the journey. Even like, comedians bomb, people do bad sometimes. It happens. Not the goal, obviously, but it is like practice. Logan, what's a time that you remember about pivoting?
yeah. So when we started the business a while back ago, we were in a small community where I would say the average spend was about $200 to $300 per order. And in time, we realized that if we wanted to scale, we were going to have to do many more shoots, or we were going to have our clients, invest more money in the media. And in some time, we discovered that in the Bay Area, people were down to spend a lot more money on media, not just pay more for the media, but order more services. So early on, we pivoted to changing our pricing, which was a scary thing because we knew we were going to lose some clients. And we about doubled our pricing when we went to the Bay Area. And part of it was the commute, part of it was just the level of production that had to increase. But ultimately, it was very, very receptive, and a lot of new clients out in the Bay Area were headed towards us, and we were able to get a lot of business. So that's what we did. And then going into new markets and expanding, we had to pivot our strategy to accommodate pricing that's comparable to our competition. So that's really important when you are trying something new, to understand, if you're a service provider, is this going to work? So it's not directly related towards a real estate agent. So if you're watching this, it's more for our business, but kind of full circle. So now we relaunched our services in our hometown where we started. And we had to pivot to introduce a new line of products that is comparable to what's being currently offered in that market. And how we did that, the strategy in that pivot was become the best service provider in the area, be just above everyone else as far as pricing goes, but beat them with our systems and our deliverability and everything that we offer. So I think as a service provider, wherever you go, you could think of different ways to do business, because I mean, you could drive 30 minutes down the road and business is done differently. So it's important to understand what that market looks like, what they expect, and how you could come in and meet those expectations and even surpass them with a new way of doing things.
One of the facts is like when running a business too, and being able to make those decisions, you have to understand that there may be some of those clients that you've worked with that aren't interested anymore. And it's just one of those things that it's a growing pain. And I think that, you can love all of your clients just as we do. And we can only do as good of a job as we can and provide the things that we're capable of providing. And it's for some people and it's not for everyone. So you have to really understand that concept when trying to scale a business, because if you're worried about pleasing everybody, It's not going to happen. Nobody can please everyone. Even, people have issues with some of the biggest apps that are out there. I mean, there's always going to be somebody you can't please. So you have to do what works best for you. And you have to understand you're probably going to lose some people along the way.
Oh my God, it's so weird you just said that because I have a business relatability story. I just fired my first client because it was like one of the first people I ever worked with. So much so, like, we don't even have a contract. And like, they were the first people that ever like loved on me. And I loved working with them. But then just over the past, I think as things have evolved for me, other things going on, it just wasn't aligning anymore. And it was so scary, but it also was like so freeing because I'm like, I think we've just outgrown each other and what what our goals are. And it was like scary at first, but then I was like, no, the way I felt afterwards, I'm like, I feel so like that was the right decision, because you don't want to you don't want to hold on to people or things or stuff for too long.
I know, and I don't want to get into it too much, but we've had to do that as well. And we really tried everything we could. And there's been a few instances where some of these people were just disrespecting Logan and Blake, and came to a point where I was like, we're not going to stand for this. Like, it's not something that we're going to do. We don't need them. And I swear, as soon as we ended up parting ways with some of those people, we got a new client that was giving us just the same amount or more business. And it's just one of those things. It's like you have to undergo some things to grow stronger and just create growth in the first place. So you just have to be prepared for those things. It teaches you valuable lessons.
Truly. Okay, so Blake, what is a pivotal story for you? I feel like we were talking the other day. I feel like you're in the middle of a pivotal moment of what what you want. But like, can you give an example from the journey or maybe talk about where you're at right now?
Yeah, I can relate to one of our past journeys, if you will. It was actually that same day Nate was referring to down in our little office studio of the apartment. I remember all of us sitting there collaborating, figuring out like what's the next best thing. And at the time we did some marketing for the complex we were living at building. And it kind of branched into different avenues of the commercial side of real estate that we didn't really think much of until we were currently doing it. And I think that in and of itself in the commercial space kind of grew into where we're at in terms of development and different render opportunities, different graphic design, things that we still offer, that we are offering today, that kind of helped us push through the outside of the residential. We kind of branched more seriously into the commercial space to where we're at now, where actually coincidentally there was a client that called me on Friday and we reconnected on Monday, and he saw that I was from Boise, and he goes, "Do you live there?" I was like, "Yeah, I lived here, but I was living in San Francisco for 2 years." He goes, "Oh, I sold a building out in Nampa, Idaho." I was like, "Oh, no way." He's like telling me that he had a partner over here for this bigger brokerage, CBRE, and he goes, "I'll connect you with this guy. Maybe you guys can start working with each other." And I ended up calling him yesterday on my way home from an appointment, and he's like, "Yeah, we'd love to see what you offer and where we can fit you in moving forward." So it was kind of a full circle moment of this guy that lives in San Francisco somehow knew this guy in Boise, to the point where now I'm trying to build this nice relationship with this bigger team to help provide, higher quality media for them and what it might look like outside of that. So it was kind of a really cool, fast pivoting moment, if you will.
I think there's a common denominator that a lot of these opportunities and pivots aren't directly what you're looking for, but there's a lot of other outcomes, alternative outcomes that end up being beneficial, like with Brand Builder, what we learned from it, right? From launching our multifamily marketing that we didn't get a lot of progress from, but we had learned the skill sets and we developed new pricing for commercial and new offerings and stuff. So, I mean, these things are paying 3 years later. So there's a lot of things you could learn from things that fail, or there's a lot of things you could learn from things that didn't work the way you originally thought they were going to work.
Absolutely.
Failure's like the best teacher. I love to fail fast and all the time, apparently.
It's funny because I didn't even really think about that commercial stuff. And that's exactly how it started. And now we have a Matterport camera that can do crazy things. It's the newest and latest one. But we probably wouldn't have ever bought that or really branched into that or earned some of our clients because we just weren't thinking about commercial at that time. It's cool.
What about you, Montana? What kind of pivot have you done in your business or personal life?
I just told you I fired a client.
What was that pivot that led you to firing them? Was it a pivot of your worth, your time? What ultimately was that pivot?
Well, it kind of comes down to what you were saying, Nate. Like, so it was, I spent like before I went out and like became an independent contractor, I was working for a place that was kind of toxic, right? I'll just call it what it was. And it kind of beat me down. And then when I, kind of started coming to, oh my God, it might not be a me thing, it might be a work thing. I made a promise to myself that I would not tolerate like disrespect when it came to work. And it kind of was because I had allowed it for so long. I now like have zero tolerance, like if I feel like I'm being disrespected. And I feel like I was holding on to them for so long because they were the first ever like independent client I had in 2022, and then they left and then came back. So I was like, oh, they really value me, love me. So I, and I knew them in person. So it was like kind of like but then invoices stopped getting paid. Like January's invoices, like my VTMI, like didn't get paid for 3 weeks. I'm an independent contractor. Like I notice when people don't pay me. And then I was out on my trip. I had came back. I was working until like, I was so sick too. And I was like working extra hard to make sure that their stuff got released. They sent me bad files, whatever, just TMI probably, but they sent me bad files. I had edited out a lot of stuff. Like it started out at an hour and 13 minutes. I cut it down to 38. So that just tells you, like, I cut out a lot already. And then I get not a, hey girly, how are you? I get a message that like made me feel like, oh, I'm back. I was just like, oh, and maybe it's because I was in Europe and I came back so free. I was like, you know what? Like, I don't have to be talked to like this. Like, first of all, I have clients like the feedback I get from you, the feedback I get from the other few people I have is nothing but positive. Like, honestly, I'm like, this sucks. And you guys are like, I love it. And so like you guys like feed back into me and like believe in what we're doing and building. And like, these people, I would always send stuff, would never get anything in return. So I kind of was like, you know what? It is a waste of time. It's like not worth the money. It's not worth the headache. It's not worth when I'm putting in everything I got and I'm not getting it in return. And I don't take disrespect anymore. I guess I'm like grown.
Yeah, that's really awesome. It's necessary for sure. And we all go through it in one shape or form eventually. So I'm proud that you didn't just keep getting stuck in that cycle.
And it's kind of like they're in a more medical profession. And I sometimes think that maybe they don't take the social media stuff serious. Like it's not a real job. It's like I'm saving lives or I'm helping this when this is my job. So it's like, yeah, it is. And it I take it as serious, like I know I'm not like solving cancer or like, but I like to make the world like a bit happier place with some better content, whatever. And Blake, I want to go back to this story you said because I love stories like that, little like full circle moments. I like to call them like little God winks, like you're on the right path. Okay, guys. So we have had a great talk. I feel like this has been great. I've missed the podcast. We haven't recorded all together in like 2 weeks. So before we wrap up, let's go around the table. We'll start with Logan. What is one thing for agents struggling to know when to pivot? Like what's one little last key takeaway we can give them?
When they're not making money, when the money stops coming in and they stop growing, that's when you know you have to pivot. If you're working your butt off and you're thinking, dang, I need to hire someone to grow my team, well, you're going to have to make more money to hire that person. So the simple short answer is when you're having money problems, that's when you have to pivot.
Fair enough. Nate?
The numbers don't lie. And if you are running your business operation and you see things that aren't working, they don't lie. They're going to tell you exactly what you need to do. And it's just a matter of making a few tweaks to get things to make sense.
Amazing. Block A?
Yeah, listen to the market. Nate said it best. I mean, if something's not working, that's when you have to adapt. And you'll figure it out over, that small gap, and you'll be better off after the fact.
Thank you to everyone who has supported the podcast so far. We're now on Apple. So if you're listening to this on Apple, please leave us a review, 5 stars. and a little comment about what you love. And then if you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell. And if you're liking what we're putting out, check out all of our resources. Nate is, and the boys, I don't know if it's just Nate, I think it's Nate's passion project, but is launching something super amazing soon. So we can't wait. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, and we'll see you next week. Bye.